Mike. Yay.
Easton, check. Thanks. Check on 2. Good.
All right, I do want to welcome everyone to the Arkansas Derby edition of Dawn at Oaklawn. I am very honored to have 2 gentlemen that I highly respect, trainer Ron Moquette and owner Harry Rosenblum. Very well represented. Ron's got a busy day. He's in the opener and all the way to the Arkansas Derby. These 2 team up in the Arkansas Derby with a horse by the name of Time for Truth. Time for Truth, very impressive in the maiden debut and will return to Stakes Company today in the Arkansas Derby. Good morning, gentlemen, and happy Arkansas Derby.
Morning.
Same to you.
So, Ron, give us just a synopsis, like 3 sentences, what your makeup is of today. What are your expectations? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm from Arkansas, so obviously Arkansas Derby Day is special for me. So I'm going to say that it's something that's anticipated, whether I'm in it or not, and just so happens I'm in it this year, so we're going to try to do our best.
Now, Harry, you've had a lot of thrills in the sport. Harry has campaigned numerous stakes winners. The name Gentleman's Bet might sound familiar. That was a horse campaigned by Harry. Also, Far Right. Far Right got a little taste of stakes gratitude right there. Won the Smarty Jones and the Southwest. What are your fondest memories of Gentleman's Bet, Harry?
I think winning the Hot Spring Stakes here and being 3rd in the Breeders' Cup, we should have won, but we didn't get beat very far, so it was very exciting. That was Ron's and our first experience with major stake, Grade 1.
There's always a good time it's always more fun winning in your backyard. A lot of Oaklawn horsemen say, I want to win the Arkansas Derby, or I want to win the Count Fleet, or I want to win the Apple Blossom, because it's in your backyard. Why does that mean so much more as a stake somewhere else?
Well, just to me, being from Arkansas, it means everything. You know, it's especially if we could win the Arkansas Derby today, that would be the icing on the cake after 39 years of being an owner.
39 years of horse ownership. That's a lot of highs, a few lows, but the highs outweigh the lows. Am I right?
A lot of water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge. I like that. Ron is also represented in the Fantasy Stakes with a horse by the name of In Just My Heels. What are your chances of her living up to her mom?
Well, those are pretty big heels to fill up to.
Those are big heels.
She's got ability, and it's a work in progress with her. She has the athletic ability to show up and win these type of races. Whether or not we're ready at this point, I don't know. But I really feel like she's going to give a great showing.
So it's interesting I say that because In Just My Heels, Damn High Heels won the Fantasy Stakes in 2007 and was campaigned by that gorgeous woman right there in the turquoise jacket. I know you'll be on bated breath, Miss Anita, when that horse goes to the post. Now, Ron got very close to the Arkansas Derby and tasted the Triple Crown with Smarty Jones back in 2015, ran 2nd in the Arkansas Derby, and Ron always says that was a bad year to have a good horse.
I mean, you can imagine if you feel like you're from this area and you've got the crowd is filled full of people you went to high school with and live next to, and people that mow your yard. I mean, it was like everybody's there to watch us, and we thought we had a good shot, and we were flabbergasted to find out that American Pharoah was coming here. And then we still, because I am the ultimate optimist, I still thought, well, somebody's going to make him go too fast, and I give Steve Asmussen a hard time going, your job is to go to the front. You're not going to win. I'm going to win. You go to the front, you know. And he said, I tried to get to him. We just couldn't. And then we go away and we come back, and there's a statue out front immortalizing the exact stride of him crossing the finish line and also, you know, dousing my dreams. So I have to drive past that every morning, every afternoon I come to work. There's a constant, larger-than-life reminder that he took something that I wanted really bad.
Especially
Jeez, Ron,
we
way
had
to-
beat every 3-year-old on the grounds that year, and we got to run against a monster.
Yeah, he happened to win the Triple Crown. Blah blah blah. He's good.
Blah, blah, blah. He's got a statue, whatever. Guys, let's talk about Time for Truth. Time for Truth was second in the Ozark Stakes, and there was always aspirations of graded stakes greatness, but you decided you did want to stretch him out. You opted for an allowance. What did he show you in that allowance race?
His last race, that he could get the distance, and he could rate.
Ron, what was your thoughts on that very impressive win? Were you I'm sure took a sigh of relief when he could officially show you that he could get the distance.
So we were in the Rebel, and he was messing around in his stall and got cast, which getting cast in the stall means you get caught and can't position yourself to get up if you're a horse. So he went to thrashing around and banged his shin, and we couldn't train him, and we couldn't take him to the Rebel. So that was supposed to be our tryout for the Arkansas Derby. So then we had to heal that up, and it was kind of a hard place to heal. It was just a flesh wound, but still we had to heal it up. No Rebel, and we also missed training. So timing meant we had to give the horse an allowance race. Also, we were coming in not fully cranked up. We know that his pedigree, his dad won this race, Omaha Beach, and this is the first year that they're 3-year-olds, so it'd be kind of cool that the first 3-year-old that ever runs here by Omaha Beach that year wins the Arkansas Derby, the same race his dad did. So we were trying to get there, and was very pleased that he overcome the loss of training, very pleased that he handled everything like a pro and got me out of a tight spot.
So it is a step up to compete in today's Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. There's several Grade 1 winners in there. This is the graded stakes debut. He does draw the 4 in the field of 10 for race number 12. $1.5 million purse, the largest in Oaklawn's history. How do you anticipate the break, and what's the ideal trip for him today?
I don't like to use the cliche, but I'm gonna let Ralphie make his decision after the gates open. We know we have enough speed to be wherever. I'm gonna let him place him in a comfortable position, whether that's on the lead or following somebody if they're going too fast. Just get out there and let him have a good trip, and let him, don't take his race away. Let him do what comes natural.
Now, Harry said he was up at 2:30.
Had a nightmare.
He had a nightmare.
But it wasn't about the race, thank God.
How
I'll
much
probably take a nap today.
How much anticipation is leading up to today?
I feel better today than I have all week. I'll tell you that.
My job is more to make sure that he doesn't walk the stalls than the horse. He gets excited. It means a lot to him, and I'm happy about that. We have that in common. It's just he is so worked up and anticipated that
The horse or Harry?
No, Harry.
Okay.
Harry would be lip shank, cotton in his ears. But that's what makes it important. That's if it didn't matter, nobody'd get nervous, nobody'd get worked up. And the fact of the matter is, it does matter.
Nancy, here's another thing. Going way back in what happened during the winter, his second race was going to be a route race, and we missed all the timing of training. We couldn't train.
Yeah.
So we had to go for a sprint, and that's why we went in the Ozark Stakes. So the other thing that we're really fortunate about is that there was an extra on the overnight.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
The day we scratched out of the Rebel, I told Ron, I said, there's an extra over there on the overnight that'll fit. And so luckily the horse got good enough to run in it.
Well, he certainly was impressive. His first time going around a ground. We definitely anticipate a good showing from you guys today. Congratulations. You
Thank
made
you.
it to the big dance. No more nightmares,
thank you.
Harry.
Relax.
So I do want to thank them so much for coming. I'm now going to have my second guest. Thank you, trainer Ron Moquette and owner Harry Rosenbluth. You sit up there. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time. Good morning, Christina.
morning.
So happy to see her. I texted her and I said, any chance you could come out and join me for a little bit of Dawn at Oaklawn this Saturday? We're going to get the band back together. This is the first time you and I have been on mics together. Oh my gosh.
Back before
12?
husbands and kids and
Before
gray hair.
husbands and kids and gray hair, and yeah, didn't need Botox back then. But yeah, it's wonderful to sit next to you again.
It is. It's great to see you. It's great to be here at Oaklawn. I've been lucky enough to come twice this year. Came for the Rebel, back here for the Arkansas Derby, and it really is just one of my favorite places to come for any work trip because everybody loves the horses here. They love the racing, the community, the town, everywhere you go. The hotel's busy, the restaurants are busy, and everybody's talking about the racing, which is not something we get where I'm at home. There's a lot going on in California, and I just love being in a community that really embraces the racing.
Yeah, Hot Springs definitely embraces racing. Just racing is a tradition here in the city of Hot Springs. The Sella family is a tradition in Hot Springs as well. So when you go out to any place, there's racing on TV, whether
Right.
it's FanDuel, which Christina works for out in Southern California, and people are talking about what they played that day, how much they might have lost, what they missed. This horse didn't come up for me, or I made this much on a ticket. Through your experiences, now Christina has experienced racing on an international level. What is it, maybe today specifically, is there one horse maybe in particular that you're looking forward to seeing?
Well, I think it's the superstars, right? I mean, it's watching the horses going for those Kentucky Oaks points, watching them going for the Derby points. I'm really interested to see what Timberlake does again
Yes.
because I think what we saw from him in the Rebel was him putting something together that Brad Cox always knew he had. I think if you go back to last year and his 2-year-old season in the juvenile, they had such high hopes for him that day. And I think it was just too much too soon mentally for him. I think he was really kind of wide-eyed and not really focused in the Breeders' Cup. And he ran in places and he got really keen. And I think when you walk away from a situation like that as a trainer where you know the horse has the physical ability to win a race like that, you end up feeling frustrated because you didn't get the best out of them. And I think because of that, you saw how much work they put into him going into the Rebel. And that really came to fruition. But down the stretch again, he's looking around. He finally
Still
leveled
ran a
out.
little
He finally
green.
dropped his body.
Yep.
But I think that that's exciting because there's more there. There's more talent. And I think he has the capability to be even better today.
Well, it's interesting because Brad Cox did say in regards to Timberlake's last appearance in the Rebel, he had him about 85 to 90% cranked. And to me, he says he's really trained forward. If he did what he did at 85 or 90%, what is he capable of at 100%?
Yes, and I'm also intrigued to see what happens with Muth and what they do tactically, because so often we see from Bob Baffert's horses, and especially here at Oaklawn, they go right to the lead and they take it to him right away. And I'm interested to see if Juan Hernandez does employ those tactics. I think Muth is fast enough to do that, but if you look at his races, he hasn't really established an early lead. There's always been a horse that he's been able to track. And you watch the Breeders' Cup Juvenile where he was tracking Fierceness. I think that was one of Muth's best races, and he likes having a target. But I'm wondering if they're worried more about Timberlake than the rest of the field, and they say just run him off their feet and see
Very
what we can do.
possible.
And it could be just really exciting going into the first turn all the way, around the racetrack.
Well, as we know, Bob Baffert not eligible for Kentucky Derby points. This is kind of like an audition for the Preakness. So correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the Southern California main races, they're only contesting other Southern California horses. This is really the first time that Muth is going to be tested. Also the first time he's shipped. He's
Yes.
going to have to acclimate to a new environment, acclimate to a different paddock. The crowds is something, and that's one reason why trainers will send their horses to Oaklawn on these signature days. They get to experience shipping. They get to experience screaming fans throughout the stretch, which is something they'll hopefully have to experience on Kentucky Oaks and Derby Day.
Yeah, that's a big question for any horse anytime they ship, for the first time. And in Southern California, we don't get a lot of shippers for any of our races just because it is so far, but then also because you're going up against Bob Baffert. And oftentimes it's not just one or two, but it's three of his horses, and they're just finishing
In a
one,
5-horse
two, three,
field.
and who knows what happens. But I think it's important to keep in mind, although this horse can't run for Derby points, the Arkansas Derby is the Arkansas Derby. And
Yes.
this is a grade one, and there's $1.5 million on the line. And of course, the Derby Dream is the Derby Dream, but this race doesn't need any support from anything else. To win the Arkansas Derby is a huge feat for any horse.
Yeah, a massive accomplishment. He's also got a horse in an allowance race on the undercard that looks very impressive. Let's talk about Lady Luck for a second. This was the brainchild of our producer at TVG, and we wanted to get a woman's perspective on the sport. And again, I wanted to call it Racing from Abroad because we did handicap races from Australia, but we stuck with the name Lady Luck. We had some amazing opportunities and some amazing times. We got to go to Dodger Stadium, interviewed Brad Penny, who at the time was a pitcher for the LA Dodgers, and Joe Torre, the outstanding, longtime successful manager of New York and in California.
Bobby Flay.
Bobby Flay. We got to go on a cooking show, and Bobby, remember blackberry mint juleps?
Yes.
We were in the Hollywood Hills where he was filming a show, and
He let us come on his set.
yeah,
to
we
do
went
our
on the
stuff.
set. I hadn't eaten that day, and here he is making these very, very potent blackberry mint juleps. I had to look down. I thought I had hair on my chest because they were so, I was half cocked by the time we left there. We had some amazing times.
We did. We had a great time. And we had so many other women join us as guests. So
We
Cadman
did.
was on with us for a little while. It was Wednesdays and Fridays, 7 to 9 o'clock at night.
We had
Kind of a
Bethany
little happy
Frankel.
hour vibe. That's right.
We had Bethany Frankel before she was Skinny Girl. She was just in the beginning
Yep.
of Skinny Girl.
Yep. And we learned a lot. We learned a lot about Australian racing.
We
learned
did.
a lot about harness racing.
I learned how to play a didgeridoo. That video still
That
haunts me
will
to this day.
never end. The one that haunts me is the ABBA video they made us film for the late double.
Oh my gosh, that was horrible.
That needs to die on the internet.
That does need to die on the internet. There are some amazing times, and you've worked with some amazing people throughout your career as well. What have you taken from other handicappers? Because Christina is an amazing handicapper.
I think you learn something from everybody you work for. I mean, you and I, bouncing off each other, learning from each other at that time. I learned a lot from Rich Perloff over the years, over at TVG and now FanDuel. Really everybody. I mean, you learn different dynamics of handicapping. Caleb Keller is here with us this weekend, and the sophistication of the sort of data points and the stats that he pulls. Ashley Mayu is the same. Gabby is one of the best, I think, at really understanding replays and how horses are running out there, and like talking a little bit about how Timberlake looked a little unfocused in his last race. That was something that I picked up from her just this week. Scott Hazelton is here. He is one of the best hosts internationally anywhere you go. He's usually in Dubai this time of year. He's here with us to host the Arkansas Derby. So everybody from our team, but it's because we all love it. It's because we love what we do, and it's because the work doesn't feel like work. The homework, the studying, sure, sometimes you think, okay, I don't know if I want to sit and watch hours of replays. But the execution and the show and getting to be here is so fun.
And it's not just the talent, it's the researchers, it's the producers, it's the audio guys, and it really is a well-oiled machine that you guys have put together.
It is, and you look at the investment that FanDuel is making into racing right now. For example, the last couple of years, there might be one or two of us here for a weekend like this. There's 5 of us here this weekend. The drone cam is here this weekend. The jockey cam is here this weekend.
I love
so
those
all of the
shots.
tools, all of the fancy technology, and all of the investment in these on-site races. We have people in Dubai this morning right now. We have a full team of 5 at the Florida Derby. We have a team out in California running, the day and the show and the studio and all of the bells and whistles that they have there. So it's exciting to be a part of a company that is growing so fast in the world of sports betting, but then also equally investing into the racing product and bringing the racing into the fold. We're the only sports book with horse racing built in, which
That's
is
amazing.
a strong position and something that we really take pride in, and something that we're especially excited to capitalize on right now because it's Derby prep season, the Kentucky Derby.
Absolutely.
The only place you can go and send money back and forth to bet the horses in any other sport you're interested in is FanDuel.
That is wonderful opportunity. Sports betting has really boomed over the last 10 years or so. One thing that Christina is also is a wife and mom to 3 daughters. How do you, with the travel and especially when you travel internationally, 3 little girls, they all are involved in everything under the
Everything.
sun. What's the organization process? Do you have like a bevy of nannies or family, or how does that work?
The joke is, have you ever seen a set list like from a trainer?
Yes.
I have a set list.
Okay. That tells you every
So-
horse, what they're doing, who's riding the horse, the groom, everything is planned out. You've
I type
always
it
been
up in a
a
document,
planner.
and it's like a Word document, and it's just to this hour, this is what happens. This hour, that's what happens. This is what you pack for lunch. This is where they go. This is what they do.
That's a full-time
These
job
are
right there.
Yeah, it takes me a long time, but I plan it out because when we're here, I'm not on my phone. I'm in and I'm focused, and I'm, unless there's a real emergency,
Right.
I can't really step away. And yes, I have a wonderful cousin who helps quite a bit, and her daughter is in her 20s, also helps. Of course, my husband's there. Other nannies, people that are, on the scene. But
They
it drives
say
me
it
nuts
takes
if they
a
ever
village.
call me, like, what's happening today? Have you referred to item 7 of the document from Wednesday?
No,
Because it's
item
very
7,
clearly there.
subsection D,
Yes.
point 2.
Everything's there.
Very organized. And not only do you cover Santa Anita, but you pack up and go down to Del Mar.
We do, and that's my favorite time of year. And going back, my dad was a jockey, so I grew up in racing, and every summer we went to Del Mar, and that was my favorite time of the year. It is still my favorite place to be, no matter what is going on. I just love that beach, similar to the atmosphere that you get here where everybody's talking about the racing.
Yep.
That's the time in California where we have that kind of buzz around what's going on at the racetrack. And then to have that and a stone's throw away
Right.
be in front of the Pacific Ocean
Yes.
with the amazing restaurants and everything else that you have in the town of Del Mar is just the best combination. And Breeders' Cup's there the next 2 years.
That's
so if anybody's
right.
saving
How
up,
are they
wants
going
to, go
to
out for a little
put
trip.
all of those people?
They did a pretty good job the first go round. I mean, San Diego County is huge. So
You're
there's
right.
so many different places you can go, not to be, right there in the town. You can head down to downtown San Diego. You can go inland into Carlsbad. There's so many beautiful
Coronado
places
Island
to
is
stay. Yeah.
amazing. Yes.
But I love Del Mar, and it's the one thing I count down to every year. For me, it doesn't really feel like summer begins until we get
Oh, I
there.
love that.
And it's fun to see my kids now. This is, they're creating the same memories that I was in a slightly different way because my dad was a jockey, their dad is
Right.
a trainer. Every Tuesday, which was the only dark day of racing when I was a kid, all of the jockeys were on the beach together.
25th
It's a little more
Street.
spread out these
Yep.
days, but it's still such a special place and such a beautiful place, and it's my favorite place to be.
Well, yeah, nothing is better to me in Southern California than a brig marg and a fish taco overlooking the races. The ocean is to your back, that ocean breeze.
Do you miss California?
I don't miss the traffic or the cost of living. I miss my friends. I miss if you're hungry at 11 o'clock at night, you can go somewhere and eat. I do miss living on the beach. I don't miss the rent that it cost.
Right.
But, I'm like Dorothy. I'm going home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was born and raised here, and I always knew at some point I would come back, and I'm glad I did. And God only knows, as many years as I was out there, I'd come home to marry somebody from Hot Springs.
Well, and it keeps getting bigger and better. Here.
I know,
I mean,
it
you guys
does.
are racing longer and longer into the year, into the season. This used to be closing weekend, right?
Yeah, for years, the Arkansas Derby was the last day of the race meet, and now we've extended it all the way until May, 2 Kentucky Derby weekends, and it's just, we now start in December, so we spend I now am here year round, but our horsemen are buying homes here. They're settling down here because this is a really good place to be, and it's affordable.
Right. And that little downtown area as you walk through or drive through,
It's
the
so
restaurants, I mean,
nice.
it all seems to be growing because you're bringing so much more business here.
Yeah, we
through
play
the racetrack.
tourist every week.
Yeah.
Go downtown, and it's all the mom and pop restaurants and everything. Great restaurants here at Oaklawn. The spa is here. I know you've got to
I've been
partake
to
in the spa.
Yes. I might try to go again tonight.
Get your reservation.
more chance.
Get your reservation. So we've talked a little bit about the Arkansas Derby between Muth and Timberlake. In the fantasy, we know West Omaha has a very live chance. Brad could become just the third trainer to sweep the fantasy and Arkansas Derby. We saw it on Honeybee or not Honeybee, but a few weekends back. How big of a 3-year-old filly division do you think it is this year? How competitive?
I think it's especially competitive. And I think the fantasy looks really competitive as compared to the Arkansas Derby. I think you have your big kind of 3, maybe 4 horses that really look strong in there. Whereas I think the fantasy looks a little bit more wide open. I think Ron's horse had a bad trip last time out, involved in a little speed scenario. She's interesting at a big price. I think she's 30-1. I like the horse on the outside, Torpedo Anna. I thought she was really hinted at some big talent at Churchill last year. her last race in the Goldenrod prior to going to the sidelines, it looked like she wasn't 100%, wasn't quite herself, so she comes back today. I don't like the post. I think the outside post is tough. That's tricky, and that might compromise her chances a little bit. But I found her to be pretty intriguing in there. Of course, like you say, West Omaha is a horse to consider, but I think it's a little more wide open in general than the Arkansas Derby looks.
Yeah, a very interesting field for the fantasy. Obviously, Lemon Muffin from the barn of Wayne Lucas broke her maiden in the Grade 3 Honeybee, and I was standing right in that tunnel right there next to Wayne when horses were in the infield to get riders up for the Honeybee, and he says, I think this filly really has a shot. And he said, they tried to get me to scratch out of the Honeybee to go in a maiden race. He said, no, I'm going to win it.
Well, and if you consider the fact that that was her first route race, she could improve quite a bit today. That race could have set the table for her ability around 2 turns. And if she does continue to move forward, then she's absolutely a win candidate today.
88 years old, saddling graded stakes winners, and Wayne's new tagline is, you ain't seen Muffin yet.
You get a chance to sit with him a lot here, and I'm very jealous because I really find every conversation with him to be educational, but I
Yes.
just hold it near and dear to my heart because he's someone that you learn something from every day, and he's such a legend, and to have him here is really special for Oaklawn.
I am very fortunate that he and his wife Lori kind of use my office as a base in the afternoons, and the stories that he couldn't tell with a microphone in front of his face, but the amount of knowledge that that man has. He's so worldly and as humble, getting ready to get a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Kentucky Derby Museum, and he said, every time they give me the awards, I think they're trying to get me to retire.
Horse trainers don't retire.
No,
But I
they
say
don't.
that all the time. They don't. They train until the day they can't.
Yes,
But
that
that's
is very
love.
true.
That's the love of this game, and
We
that's
do it because we
because
love
you
it.
love it. Yeah.
So what is something that you look forward to after this meet? I know you spent some time at Keeneland. I know you like Keeneland.
I do. I love Keeneland. I've had the pleasure of working with their sales team a little bit over the last couple of years. I've really enjoyed that. But I actually, and I don't know if you'll believe this, I have never seen the Kentucky Derby. I've never seen the actual race
Girl,
with
how-
my own eyes there.
You've never been to
Because
Derby?
when I've been there, but I've left for work back home on the Thursday or back home on the Friday. Last year I
can't
was there
believe
for the
that.
first 3 races of the day at Churchill, and then I was sent to Keeneland to finish the coverage on the second half of the day.
You're
so
kidding.
I hope, and I'm gonna knock on wood, fingers crossed, this year might be the first time I actually see the Kentucky Derby.
That blows my mind. It's crazy because everybody runs on Kentucky Derby because that's such a signature day on your home track. But yeah, it was years before I saw my first Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, and the days that I was with HRTV, I think TVG was covering the Derby, and then it flipped. I went to TVG, and then HRTV was covering the Derby, and I've just always been kind of sent one direction or another for work, so I just go where they tell me. But so far, they're telling me to go to the Derby.
That's
Hopefully
a
they
very
don't take it
and
away.
you know what? It's almost like Super Bowl or World Series. It's like, okay, I went.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Bucket list.
it's definitely a bucket list thing, but the best place to do Derby is on the backside.
Yes, I would believe that. I mean, I love the Derby atmosphere in the mornings on
Yes.
the backside.
Oh,
just
it's
going
amazing.
out in
It's
the
a
morning
who's
has been
who, not
so
only
fun.
of people, but of horses. You see the best horse flesh in the world in that week.
And to watch the crowd grow every day. You know, there's more and more people every morning as you're out there.
One of the best things about horse racing is people watching. I love a good people watch session.
I love watching people win, and I think that's what I love about this game, because when I'm down here reporting, whether it's a fan who has a winning ticket or the owners that have put so much time, or the trainer or the groom, the hot walker that's with that horse every day, I love watching that moment when they win because it's so pure and it's such a time where you kind of lose control of yourself in
Right.
the best way, and I love that perspective, and I get to have it from here, watching, you know, the race on one side and the fans and the people and the connections on the other.
We have the best office in the world.
We do.
Absolutely the best office. Thank you so,
It's so
much
fun. Yeah.
for coming. My
Good to
mom
see you.
sends her love.
I love your mom.
I'm proud of what you have done, not only on camera, but off as well. You're an absolute
Thank you.
inspiration to those 3 girls.
Thank you.
So thank you for
Hopefully
coming.
they'll
Ladies
be
and
here with
gentlemen,
me next year.
yes, Christina Oliveris Blacker.